The world we live in is filled with fierce competition. Some people are born with advantages, while others must fight for every step forward. Some people get what they want, others keep struggling in vain. Our neighbor always seems happier and better than ourselves. Our friend's sudden great accomplishment may end up hurting our sense of self-worth. This chaotic state of affairs does not seem to have any plausible solution. Should we aim to somehow become inexhaustible in our overcoming, or strive to find peace and calmness instead? How are we supposed to respond to this turbulent and unpredictable flow? How to avoid being annihilated by it? And finally, what is the ultimate purpose for all of this competitive world? First, it must be said that there are forms of equality that are undeniably necessary, such as equality in law and education. Legal equality, while still imperfect in many parts of the world, is foundational for justice and fairness. Education, on the other hand, holds the potential to uplift humanity by nurturing natural talents and abilities. Education is not fully universally accessible, not yet, although it should be. This limitation undermines its power to benefit society as a whole. If education were free for all, it could unleash human potential at its highest. On the other hand, not all inequality is inherently bad or something we should aim to eliminate entirely. Some types of inequality serve a functional purpose, and tampering with them recklessly could lead to unintended consequences. Material inequality, for instance, while uncomfortable to acknowledge, is deeply embedded in our economic systems. The global economy relies on the trust and stability of large private capital. If we were to dismantle this entirely, the resulting collapse could leave us vulnerable to competitors, both economically and geopolitically. Pragmatically, we should focus on eliminating only absolute poverty, ensuring that no one is left without basic necessities, but anything beyond that becomes less clear and risks creating imbalances of a different kind. Then there are inequalities that cannot and should not be touched, such as those rooted in genetics and natural inborn qualities. To try to flatten these differences is not only unrealistic, but also fundamentally anti-natural. Nature thrives on diversity, and so do human societies. True progress doesn't lie in erasing all inequalities, but in carefully balancing the unhealthy ones that we can influence, while respecting the natural ones we cannot. It relies on understanding which disparities hinder humanity and which ones drive it forward. The feeling of injustice accompanied by the desire to eliminate inequality can be biased. This is because inequality often feels unbearable when we are the ones suffering from it. In these moments, our cries for equality aren't always a call for justice. They are often a longing for reversed injustice. We don't necessarily want fairness, we want the scales to tip in our favor. If a wealthy man claims to be against the concentration of wealth, he faces an obvious ethical dilemma. Should he not liquidate his own riches to align his actions with his beliefs? The same logic applies to the poor man who insists that wealth is unnecessary. To truly validate this conviction, he must first transcend his poverty, not through envy or resentment, but by proving to himself that fulfillment does not require material abundance. This isn't about blaming one side or excusing the other. It's about confronting the uncomfortable truth that ideals of equality often emerge from a place of personal disadvantage. If we crave equality, we must first ask ourselves whether we'd hold the same conviction if the roles were reversed. True belief isn't born from suffering alone. It is forged in the absence of bias, where principles are tested against reality, not just desire. If we examine nature closely enough, we will notice that competition, injustice, and inequality, they're all obvious parts of life. They shape who we are and where we end up, without being entirely good or bad. They simply exist, influencing our paths in a way that we often don't fully understand. In some matters, the desire to make people equal is like the desire to equalize them in that the sun does not rise earlier over someone than over another during the same 24 hours, which would take the alteration of nature itself. We all have different places under the sun, and there is nothing ugly about that. What remains is to welcome the inevitable struggle. Inequality is painful, it can be hard to see, it is harder to live with, and competition, it can feel relentless, like a tide that never recedes. Yet these forces aren't just hurdles, they are all catalysts. They push us to evolve, to grow stronger, to become more than what we were. They demand clarity in a disordered world and resilience when the odds seem impossible. We often think of success and high status as belonging to the wealthiest, the most powerful, or those with the loudest voices in the room. But barely anyone is assessing their status by how happy and satisfied they actually are, how good are their relationships with people, and whether their life project aligns with their values. Indeed, it takes courage to discover or create your own values, and then bring them to life. To truly succeed, to rise above the noises, doesn't necessarily mean acquiring more wealth or status. It depends on what you consider important to fight for. Where you are born or the privileges you hold are only the means accessible for this purpose. Succeeding is more about the choices you make, the challenges you overcome, and how you adapt to what life throws your way. Not everyone will reach the end of their journey in the same way, and that's perfectly normal. What really matters isn't being perfect, but having the courage to keep moving forward, even when the odds seem against you and the path is anything but clear. Embracing this attitude, what the Stoics and Nietzsche called amor fati, or love of fate, means accepting and loving your path, no matter how difficult it may be. Life isn't a race where everyone finishes together. It is a personal journey where each step you take, even the imperfect ones, counts. Love your fate. Embrace the challenges, the imperfections, and the unfairness. Accept life as it comes, because in that acceptance there is strength, and in strength there is freedom. Now, there is also a common misconception of what is considered to be an accomplishment. The society we live in fosters this through the mindset of more. This mindset, at its core, is fueled by the dopaminergic craving for novelty, a mindless pursuit of more achievements, more possessions, more recognition. Yet, this chase often ends in a cycle of dissatisfaction, chronic stress, and anxiety rather than fulfillment and calm. This endless loop is a treadmill disguised as progress. The culture that glorifies hard work as a means to achieve more misses a critical point. Why must one strive to achieve anything at all? What purpose does it serve? And does it truly matter? These are questions rarely asked, as the narrative of productivity assumes the answers are universal. But they aren't. For some, the drive to accomplish may stem from ambition or curiosity, while for others, it might be external pressures or fear of insignificance. The prejudice of productivity, this belief that value lies solely in apparent results, overlooks the diverse reasons behind our actions and the varied ways people find meaning. What I find ironic is that this attitude is essentially unproductive. It depletes mental and emotional reserves, driving individuals toward burnout and overstimulation rather than balance. Even burnout itself is mythologized as something appropriate to live with. I invite you to explore the previous letter that describes this phenomenon from a cultural and philosophical standpoint. The focus on accomplishment for its own sake blinds us to other dimensions of life, such as reflection, rest, relationships, and the freedom to simply be. Productivity as an end goal strips us from the opportunity to question our motives, to redefine success on our terms, and to find satisfaction in the present fruits of our actions rather than the promise of an elusive future. Perhaps, then, the real accomplishment is not striving endlessly, but in understanding why we strive at all. In stepping back, questioning, and choosing wisely, we reclaim our energy, our focus, and our lives. Our accomplishments, untethered from its prejudices, can become purposeful, not a theft of someone else's chance for a good life, but a contribution to the common good. But what is the purpose of competition per se? At its core, competition serves a deeper purpose than simply determining winners and losers. The ultimate purpose of competition is to validate and affirm one's values. It is a test, not just of skill, intelligence, or perseverance, but of the principles that guide us. This is why competition can feel so ruthless. It exposes flaws, dismantles pretense, and infiltrates those who are not honest enough with themselves. It spares no one who lacks the courage to live by what they truly believe. If your values are weak, borrowed, or insincere, competition has a way of unraveling them. And yet, this ruthlessness has its own strange beauty. Competition forces us to confront the deeper questions. Why do I strive? What am I really fighting for? Are my values truly my own, or have I adopted them unthinkingly? It challenges us to not only act, but to understand the meaning behind our actions. Many of us fear competition, not solely because it might expose our weaknesses, but because it might reveal the fragility of what we believe in. It demands more than effort. It demands conviction, yet sometimes adaptation. And that is not an easy thing to face. Competition, at its best, is a crucible, a space where we refine who we are. It forces us to shed what is false, to question what we take for granted, and to cling fiercely to what truly matters. In the end, it is not about defeating others, it's about affirming to yourself that the values you live by are worth the struggle. It's about proving, not in words, but in action, that your life is aligned with something real, and that is perhaps the greatest victory of all. The competitive world is ruthless, and ruthlessness often feels overwhelming, but beneath its harshness lies a certain beauty, a raw simplicity that governs the process of life. It does not ask for fairness or pity. It moves forward, indifferent to who is left behind. While this may seem cold, it is also profoundly honest. Competition is not confined to material pursuits like wealth or power. It extends into the non-material realms of thought, creativity, and self-perfection. Ideas compete for recognition, values struggle for relevance, and individuals strive to realize their true potential regardless of the circumstances they are in. The world demands action and ideas, and in return it offers satisfaction. This simplicity is its beauty. Overcome, build, create, succeed, or try again. There is no room for pretense. Ruthlessness reveals truth. In a competitive environment, effort, skill, and resilience are exposed for what they are. Weakness is not punished out of cruelty, but as a natural byproduct of the system itself. Weakness itself is the punishment. The strongest values, the most dedicated individuals, and the sharpest minds rise to the heights of meaningful life because they are most suited to thrive. This process is neither moral nor immoral. It simply is, and within it lies a kind of freedom, the freedom to shape your path, to rise above circumstances, and to forge meaning from adversity. It strips away the unnecessary and demands that we focus on what matters. The ruthlessness of the world is not without beauty nor without opportunity. It challenges us to grow and pursue new ways, be it in material success or the quiet triumphs of the mind and spirit. It stands for the idea that striving always must have value. In this simplicity, there is clarity, and in clarity, there is power. In this noisy void we live in, it is easy to feel overwhelmed as if everything around us is conspiring to drown us out. The constant distractions, the temptations to consume, the expectation from society, it can all feel suffocating. But in order to not let this noise annihilate us, in order to truly win, one must first decide what victory means for them. This isn't a race for wealth, status, or external belongings, not necessary. Those are only means to a higher, more noble end. If the means are confused with what brings meaning, it's a dead end. The race is one for freedom and realizing a unique mission, as unique as your fingerprints or genetic code. The one who asserts their own freedom, who defines their own path and purpose, is the true winner of life. The concept of transcending the average life that most people live sounds in fact simple, and it requires control. Control over your consumption, what you buy, what you eat, what you let into your mind. It takes cutting through the noise, refusing to be swept up by the hollow distractions that flood our world. These distractions, digital noise, unhealthy processed foods, mindless content absorption, the illusion of recognition online, are the enemies of personal freedom. Once you purify your mind from these toxins, once you regain control of your body and your focus, then true power begins to emerge. You become calm, you become healthy, you become present. And with that presence, you can then turn your attention to what truly matters, your life's mission. The mission is yours to choose. It is about creating something unique, something that only you, empowered by your own personality and vision, can bring to life. It is about dedicating yourself to perfection, not perfection in the sense of flawlessness, but in the sense of relentless growth, self-expression, and authenticity. In the end, the real victory is not in the accumulation of things, but in the freedom to create, to become, and to live fully on your own terms. Lastly, I want to draw your attention to these two traits, namely discipline and emotional stability. These two traits hold the key to unlocking one's true potential. They are so rarely cultivated, yet incredibly powerful when combined. They form the foundation of a competitive advantage that transcends fleeting measures of accomplishment. Apart from leveraging your natural abilities, these are the additional, more immediate leverages you can put into action. Today, most people are neither building their discipline nor stabilizing their emotional state, and yet, these two qualities, not your family, social status, IQ, or bank account, are the most reliable predictors of happiness, academic success, mental health, earnings, and even longevity, as studies show. The opportunity is that gaining mastery over these traits is simpler than it seems, since you can start with basic optimizations, better sleep, physical activity, and purified nutrition. These small changes will naturally improve your self-control and emotional balance. They are the principal physiological leverages. In a society drowning in distractions and shallow pursuits, living with focus and purpose will set you apart. The media is saturated with advice on how to live right, but how rare is it to find someone who actually does? Someone who actually puts the abundant beneficial information into practice? Someone who goes to bed on time, avoids junk food, manages their stress, and exercise regularly. It is more rare than what we think, and it gives us a huge advantage if we manage to become someone who applies simple truths. For this, we ought to primarily limit activities that neither benefit us nor mankind. Our value to the world is directly tied to our value as an individual. Control your consumption of food and content. Let them serve you, not enslave you. Dedicate your efforts to scalable, meaningful projects, whether through creative pursuits, innovation, or ideas that ripple outward. Prioritize what truly matters: deep, genuine social connections over petty battles for recognition, the well-being of your family and your health over the compromising, unnecessary sweet poisons. These are the unshakable pillars of a fulfilling life. And then, go further, strive for mastery in your chosen niche, or create a new one by combining your unique, inborn strengths. Expertise is built over time through relentless focus and strategic thinking. If you wish to read more on this, check the book Mastery by Robert Greene. Think long-term, look beyond immediate reactions and elevate your perspective. Study the trends shaping our world: cryptocurrency, AI, shifting societal values. Become a pioneer, not a follower. When the majority of people are overwhelmed by noise, the rare combination of discipline, emotional resilience, and strategic action will give you the ultimate edge. We will cover more of this in the future letters. For now, stay strong, intelligent, and healthy. Truly yours, The Thinker.